If you're hoping to be raptured away from all of this because of your belief in Jesus, then think again. Have a look at tobesafe.com and study some of the articles regarding the lie of the rapture.
If you are trusting in your wealth and your possessions to save you, then think again. Don't expect your wealth and your possessions to save you. Hundreds of thousands of Jews and others who were herded into concentration camps had swallowed their golden diamonds, and did it get them anywhere? Here's a prophecy of the end times from the scripture, Ezekiel chapter 7 verse 19.
They throw their silver into the streets, and their gold becomes as filth. Their silver and their gold is unable to deliver them in the day of the wrath of Yahweh. They do not satisfy their appetite, nor fill their stomachs, because it has been their stumbling block of crookedness.
You might ask yourself, is there any hope to get through all this? A prophecy from Joel gives us the answer. It's in chapter 2, verse 32.
And it shall come to pass, that whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahweh shall be delivered. For in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem shall be deliverance, as Yahweh hath said, and in the remnant whom Yahweh shall call.
I will share a little story that happened a number of years ago when we came to the name, and Yahweh had led us to a lady and her family to share the truth about his name. Her reaction to this information was quite shocking. She went very silent and was very quiet. And then she said for many years that she had struggled with the scriptures, because the scripture says that only a remnant will be saved, only a small, only a few. She said, but when I used to look at the TV, at all these shows, these Christian shows, and read these magazines, she'd say there's 1 million saved here, and 2 million saved there, and 10 million saved there. She said it never made sense, because when I look at the story of Noah, that he had preached near 100 years to people almost daily about what was coming and the judgment of Yahweh, only 8 people got on the ark. Now obviously Noah would have had more children than his 3 sons, and the 3 sons and their wives would have also had children, but they do not feature on the ark. She also mentioned that when you look at the story of Lot, who was told by the messengers of Yahweh to go and warn the people what was going to happen to that city, he went door to door telling people, and they turned around and said, you're mad. And all that left that city was him, his wife, and his 2 daughters. Yet his wife looked back because she couldn't give up her material things. So she said this makes perfect sense. The scripture in Joel 2:32, that whosoever calls on the name of Yahweh is saved. She said if you take the prophecy as whoever calls on the name of the Lord is saved, then she said all J-dubs are saved, Mormons are saved, Catholics are saved, even people like Hare Krishnas, they call on a Lord. So you're talking 5 billion people that are basically calling on the Lord who will be saved, yet the scriptures do not support that number being saved. Scriptures talk about only a remnant will be saved.
We've looked at one scripture, and there are many scriptures echoing that the fact that Yahweh is bringing this judgment on this earth is because we have all broken his commands and walked away from his laws. Let's examine these scriptures. Christianity says that the laws of Yahweh have been nailed to the cross and are done away with. Let's look at scripture to see what it says about his commands.
Let's look at Revelation 22 verse 14.
Blessed are they that do his commands, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city.
Now let's look at 1 John chapter 2 verse 3 and 4.
And by this we know that we know him, if we guard his commands. The one who says, I know him, and does not guard his commands is a liar, and the truth is not in him.
And now let's look at what our Messiah Yeshua said about the laws in Matthew 5 verse 17 to 19.
Think not that I came to destroy the law or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one tittle shall by no means pass away from the law till all be fulfilled. Whoever therefore shall break one of the least of these commands, and shall teach men so, he shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Yeshua said in this verse, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall by no means pass from the law. So look outside your door. Are the heavens still there? Is the earth still there? Well, therefore his laws are still in existence.
If you claim that the law has been fulfilled or done away with, then we can murder, lie, commit adultery, have sex with beasts, trip up the blind man. This goes against all logic and what Yeshua taught, and his disciples and followers practiced after he left them.
Most people actually acknowledge the 10 Commandments, or most Christians do, but they don't obey them all. They actually only obey 9 commandments. They believe that the Sabbath has been done away with, or that it was replaced, instead of having the 7th day to honor the first day of the week. If Yeshua did change the Sabbath to the first day of the week, then surely there would be some record of it in Scripture, and yet we find absolutely nothing. What we do find is that apostles and all the followers of Yeshua actually kept the Sabbath. Let's have a look at some of these scriptures.
Now let's look at Acts chapter 13, verse 42.
And when the Jews went out of the congregation, the Gentiles begged to have these words spoken to them the next Sabbath. And when the meeting of the congregation had broken up, many of the Jews and of the worshipping converts followed Shaul and Barnabas, who, speaking with them, were urging them to continue in the favour of Yahweh. And on the next Sabbath, almost all the city came together to hear the word of Yahweh.
Now let's look at Acts chapter 17, verse 2.
And according to his practice, Shaul went into them, and for 3 Sabbaths was reasoning with them from the Scriptures.
Let's look at Acts chapter 18, verse 4.
And he was reasoning in the congregation every Sabbath, and won over both Jews and Greeks. One of the most obvious scriptures for us believers is found in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 9, but it's been mistranslated deliberately by the Catholic Church. The scripture reads, "So there remains a rest for the people of Yahweh." And yet the word rest in Greek is sabbatismos, which literally means a Sabbath keeping. There remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Yahweh. That's Hebrews chapter 4, verse 9.
And regarding the Sabbath, let's look at Exodus chapter 31, verse 16 and 17.
The children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. Most Christians are actually completely confused about who the children of Israel actually are.
Most Christians even refer to themselves as Gentile believers, yet Scripture does not support this line of thinking, and subsequently ignore all Scripture referring to the people of Yahweh as only for the Jews. Believers need to take note that when Revelation describes the new heavens and new earth, and there is 12 gates into the new Jerusalem, one for each of the tribes of Israel, there is no gates for the Gentiles. Scripture makes it clear that there is one law for the Israelites